My wife said it casually, like she was canceling dinner plans. I can't go to Christmas with you this year. My ex will be there. The words landed softly, but something inside me shifted permanently. We had spent 13 Christmas mornings together, unwrapping gifts in the living room of the house we built in Worcester, Massachusetts. Suddenly, one man from her past outweighed our entire present. I didn't argue. I didn't demand explanations. I just nodded and told her I understood. That night, I packed an overnight bag and left without drama. She assumed I needed space. What she didn't realize was that I needed clarity. Jealousy wasn't the problem. Disrespect was. A wife who refuses to stand beside her husband because of an ex isn't protecting peace. She's protecting history. I drove through quiet streets lit with holiday decorations and realized something simple. Christmas wasn't being canceled. My illusion was. My name is Andrew Mercer. I own a small property management company overseeing apartment buildings across central Massachusetts. It's steady work, built on contracts and trust. My wife, Natalie, worked in medical sales and traveled frequently. She was charming, persuasive, and careful with details. Over the past year, small shifts had crept into our marriage. Phone calls taken in another room. Late-night messages answered with the screen turned away. Business trips that extended one extra day. I noticed restaurant charges in Providence during a week she claimed to be in Hartford. When I asked lightly about it, she blamed scheduling confusion. I let it pass. Patience often reveals more than confrontation. The Christmas comment simply connected dots I had already seen forming. If an ex's presence could displace her husband at a family gathering, then boundaries had shifted long before that sentence was spoken. The Christmas gathering was at her parents' house, the same home where we had taken holiday photos for years. Natalie explained that her ex, Tyler, had reconnected with her brother recently and would attend. It would be awkward, she insisted. I don't want drama. I asked calmly whether my presence caused drama or his did. She avoided the question. Instead, she framed my attendance as insecurity. That was when I stopped speaking. Accusations of jealousy are often tools to silence reasonable concern. I told her she should go enjoy her holiday. She hesitated, perhaps expecting me to argue harder. When I didn't, something unreadable crossed her face. That night, I reviewed our joint accounts quietly. Transfers labeled as travel reimbursements appeared unusually frequent. A hotel in Providence showed up 3 separate times. I saved screenshots. I didn't sleep much. Christmas morning arrived with snow and silence. I didn't attend her family gathering. Instead, I drove to Providence. Harborline Suites stood near the waterfront. Discreet but expensive. I parked across the street and waited. Around noon, Natalie's car pulled into the underground garage. 20 minutes later, Tyler arrived separately. They entered through the lobby together, laughing. It wasn't a hug between old friends. It was familiarity sharpened by secrecy. I didn't approach them. I simply photographed timestamps and license plates. Evidence doesn't require confrontation in the moment. It requires patience. By evening, Natalie sent a cheerful text wishing me a peaceful holiday. I responded politely. When she returned home late that night, she smelled faintly of cologne unfamiliar to our bedroom. I said nothing. Silence unsettles guilt more effectively than shouting ever could. January began with routine on the surface. Natalie resumed work travel and social plans. I resumed managing properties and meeting tenants. Beneath that routine I prepared. I opened a separate business account and redirected new contracts there. I consulted a family attorney named Harold Green, presenting documented hotel visits, suspicious reimbursements, and photographic proof. Massachusetts law may not criminalize infidelity, but misuse of marital funds changes negotiations significantly. Harold advised calm. Let her continue believing you suspect nothing, he said. I followed that advice carefully. Natalie grew more distant, occasionally accusing me of emotional withdrawal. Irony rarely announces itself politely. In February, I discovered an email confirmation for a weekend ski trip in Vermont. 2 guests, 1 room. She claimed it was a sales retreat. I printed the invoice and added it to the folder. By March, Tyler's social media began showing subtle hints. Snowy landscapes, wine glasses, partial reflections of a woman in photos. Natalie appeared in none of them directly, yet details matched her travel dates. I stopped questioning her entirely. Instead, I scheduled mediation preparation quietly with Harold. I transferred personal savings legally and adjusted property ownership structures within compliance limits. Natalie noticed the financial shifts eventually. "Why are you reorganizing accounts?" she asked one evening. I told her business expansion required it. She accepted the explanation too quickly. Trust built on deception rarely investigates deeply. In April, Tyler's engagement announcement appeared online, with Natalie visible in the background of one celebration photo. The caption read, "New Beginnings." I stared at that image longer than I expected. Some endings announce themselves without conversation. I closed my laptop and finalized my decision calmly. I filed for divorce the following week without informing Natalie in advance. The paperwork cited irreconcilable differences and documented financial discrepancies tied to unexplained travel expenses. She was served at her office on a Tuesday morning. That afternoon, my phone exploded with calls. I answered once. "What is this?" she demanded, her voice sharp with disbelief. I told her calmly that it was clarity. She accused me of overreacting to nothing. I asked whether Christmas in Providence counted as nothing. Silence followed. When she finally spoke, she called it a mistake. I reminded her that mistakes rarely require hotel reservations and coordinated arrivals. That evening, she returned home furious, alternating between anger and pleading. I stayed composed. I had already secured separate housing and transferred primary control of my property contracts. Emotion changes nothing once preparation is complete. The community reacted quickly. Worcester is not a massive city. News travels quietly but efficiently. Tyler's engagement post became a topic of discussion once timelines surfaced. Natalie attempted to frame our divorce as mutual drift, but financial documents told a different story. My attorney filed requests for reimbursement tied to misused marital funds. Tyler's fiancée reportedly ended their engagement within weeks after learning about overlapping dates. Natalie tried confronting him publicly at a restaurant downtown, and witnesses later described the exchange as humiliating. Tyler distanced himself immediately, claiming he had believed Natalie's marriage was already over. That defense satisfied no one. Meanwhile, I focused on my work. Properties were renovated. Contracts renewed. Stability became visible contrast to her unraveling narrative. Pride often collapses faster than relationships. Natalie requested mediation in May, hoping to avoid further exposure. During the session, she asked if reconciliation was possible. I told her calmly that reconciliation requires shared boundaries, not selective loyalty. She insisted she had only sought closure with Tyler. I asked whether closure typically involves private hotel bookings and holiday absences. Her lawyer advised silence. The house we purchased together became a central issue. Because I had restructured business holdings early, asset division favored my stability. Natalie realized too late that her confidence in control had blinded her to preparation happening quietly beside her. Mediation concluded without hostility but without hope. Outside the courthouse, she whispered that she never intended to lose everything. I answered that she lost nothing she actively protected. Summer arrived with final court approval. Natalie retained limited assets but lost primary claim to our shared home due to documented financial misuse. She moved into a smaller apartment near her office. Tyler relocated out of state after his broken engagement, erasing online history that once looked triumphant. Mutual friends divided quietly. Some reached out to me expressing shock. Others chose neutrality. I held no public resentment. I simply declined invitations where narratives felt distorted. Work continued steadily. I purchased a modest townhouse using preserved funds. Peace does not announce itself loudly. It settles gradually, replacing tension with routine. In August, Natalie called unexpectedly. Her tone lacked the sharpness I once recognized. She admitted that Tyler had stopped answering her entirely after the engagement collapsed. She said she felt embarrassed attending family gatherings. Christmas invitations were now uncomfortable rather than avoided. I listened without commentary. Regret often arrives long after consequences. She asked whether I ever truly felt jealous. I told her jealousy was never the issue. Respect was choosing absence beside your spouse to accommodate an ex signals misplaced loyalty. She didn't argue this time. Silence replaced defense. December returned quietly. Holiday lights lined the same streets where I had driven alone a year earlier. This time, I attended gatherings without hesitation. My home felt smaller but steadier. Natalie reportedly spent Christmas at a colleague's house, avoiding both Tyler and extended family. I felt no satisfaction in her losses, only confirmation that decisions echo beyond the moment they are spoken. When she once said, "I can't go to Christmas with you. My ex will be there," she believed she was avoiding discomfort. Instead, she chose a direction that unraveled her home, her pride, and her future. I did not destroy her life. I stepped away from a boundary she refused to defend. Sometimes walking away is not weakness. It is alignment with truth.